Hello everyone, and welcome to our 8ish o'clock live stream. I am Dauphine, this is Amena Art, and we are doing our print line. So for the past few days, you've probably noticed that we haven't been live, usually at our normal time, which is currently 8 to 9 p.m. The reason why between that we have not been live is mainly because we are trying to automate for you all the actual prints here to make sure that you guys can get these actually a lot faster. So we're improving our shipping as well as a lot of behind the scenes things. But we are back and we are live. So come on, join us, and tonight I will be talking about a few, probably about 6 different types of prints we have here at Amena Art. These are all collector editions that you see here tonight, which is both framed and unframed options. So come on, join, you can ask questions, you can just say hi, and that's what we'll be doing for a little while. But welcome on in, everyone. Let's get started. So I pinned the TikTok shop product list below here somewhere by the comment section. So you should see that when you first join in. But we'll start with this one. I'm not going to be moving and pinning them unless you guys ask. But this one specifically is the Golden Sky, also known as the Golden Sunset. And Golden Sky here is actually painted in about 2023. So 2023, around this time, was painted. And it was actually painted here in this actual studio. We're currently live from around Stafford, Virginia. This is our private studio where we're live from, and it was actually where this piece was painted. This one was painted on the studio's front porch area during around this time, around 8ish, 9 o'clock, where we get our sundown. So it was very nice. It was a golden sunset, very beautiful here in Virginia, very rare as well to get such pretty sunsets, but very gorgeous. And honestly, she came out there which was actually at the time the biggest canvas in her collection. So this was actually the biggest piece that she had painted at the time, which this is actually probably about a medium to a small now. And she painted the sunset, and it really represented actually just capturing a moment that's only there for a second, because like sunsets and sunrises, they only are here for just a few seconds to a few minutes, and you really just lose them so quickly, and there's only so many like really gorgeous ones. So this was really just about capturing that moment, admiring it, and just something to really remind you to always stay in the present and to really just admire the really nice things while they're still here. So Golden Sky, the actual original painting I did about 2023, is actually, I think, currently the only painting that is finished, to my knowledge, that has golden paint actually in it. So this was painted with golden acrylic. You can't actually see it too well because it's not the golden foil things, but it does have gold paint actually. So if you ever do get the chance to see it in actual person, I do recommend, obviously, to take a very good up close look at it, to really look for like the sparkles of it, because it's just very lightly used throughout. But it's very gorgeous. It just has this normal kind of like breezy cloud feeling to it. It's just a very light cloud, honestly. But Golden Sky, that's kind of why it's called Sky, that's why it's golden. Makes a lot of sense, honestly. But this is our 13 by 13 reprint of it. Very pretty. I'll let you guys see it up close here, so you guys can get a little bit more of the detailing, but I don't know if you guys can see it too well, but it does have actually some pretty like light brush strokes. It's very kind of like airy, which I think is fitting for clouds, honestly. But also, I do love this one. It is here currently in actual private studio. This is not in this area, but it is actually in, I think it's in one of the dining rooms. So it's in one of the dining rooms here at the private studio. But it's very gorgeous, honestly, and it really does just represent capturing that moment that's only there for just a few seconds. Like sunsets and sunrises, if you get up early enough for the sunrises, they're only really here for not long enough to really get anything, and cameras can't really even capture the beauty of them well enough. But this really is just a piece that really represents capturing the moment and just admiring it. So I do love it. Obviously, since it's just a golden sunset piece, it doesn't have animals or really anything other than the normal orange and yellow here. It can pretty much go in any room or area. But I'd probably put this in a bedroom, honestly, just because it gives obviously that like early morning, late night vibes of where the sun comes up, the sun goes down, which really does obviously fit more of the bedrooms, because that's where you guys relax and start to wind down, wake up. But I really do love this piece, and that was it. Obviously a little bit more closer up, right back here. For anyone that's just joining in, for some little fun fact details about this, the golden sky, the reason why it says golden in its name is not just because of the coloring actually in it. The original painting itself does actually have gold paint actually on it. So it does have gold paint. So that is why it's called actually Golden Sky. Of course, this is a reprint of it, so it will not obviously have golden paint in it. But if you ever do see the actual original piece itself, I do recommend that you actually do take a close look at it, because it is, one, gorgeous and huge, but it does actually have gold paint, which only those who actually look up close at it will notice. But other than that, it was painted about 2023 here privately at this private location. Took probably about 2 days to paint fully, because it was actually the biggest piece at the time. But it is currently in the artist's private collection, possibly for showing at a later date. But that's some fun facts about it, and honestly, I do enjoy this one. So that is Golden Sky. Of course, if you have any questions on anything that you see here tonight, you are more than free to ask. But we're going to put this one off to the side and pull out the next one. So the next one we have actually is a little bit newer, and here it is. So this actually is called, Peaceful Jungle. She has a top painting, so I try to remember each name. But this one's Peaceful Jungle, and it actually is of this tiger. This is actually the second tiger painting out of probably about 50 paintings she has now. So she has probably about a collection of 50 at the moment, just fully overall. But this one is actually the second, so we do have 2 tiger paintings at the moment. So this one is actually the first one. The newer one is actually called Temptation, which I'm not sure if we'll be showing a print of that one tonight, but we'll see. But this one was painted about 2024, around that time. And it actually was painted in the public location. So this was painted in the public pop-up in Fredericksburg, Virginia's historic downtown district, which, if you've never been to Virginia or Fredericksburg, you probably don't know, but it's a very historic town. It's a lot of history, just generally to America as a whole. Many presidents have lived here, born here, grew up here. But generally, very historic. We had a pop-up for about a year in that area, and this was actually the first piece that was painted in this actual location. So it kind of represents a little bit more of spring coming to bloom. So it's in the jungle, obviously, which I'll bring it up here closer so you can see it a little bit better in a moment. But it's spring coming to bloom, but instead of you kind of like running into it, like you're going full spring cleaning, spring workouts, everything else, it's more of like relaxing and minding it for a moment as everything kind of like blooms and opens up and new doors obviously opening. You kind of just take that brisk pacing without rushing into it, wearing yourself off and stuff. But let me bring it a little bit up closer so you can obviously see it. And here it is. So you can see it a little bit better. It does actually have about 3 colors in it, which Amena actually is very good at colors. She specializes in really color theory and all that color works. So very gorgeous on the colors. It has obviously the greens as its majors. It's got a little bit of like this creamy yellow as its like secondary. And then the last one you probably can't see too well unless you're looking. It's actually a purple. You can see it's actually in the corner there by her signature mainly. But very gorgeous 3 colors syndrome here where it has those 3 different colors just in different tones and hues. But you can kind of see it, it's just this gorgeous tiger relaxing, honestly, just chilling for a moment. And like I say on every live I bring this out, the one place I would put this mainly at is actually a gym. Now the reason why I would put this at a gym, because hear me out, is actually because of its kind of meaning. It gives a very like calm feeling, honestly. But because it kind of means, to me at least, like new things opening and just take it slowly at a pace. You don't rush towards these new things, like new doors opening and all these new opportunities. It kind of reminds me just to keep going without having to like rush myself, like wear myself out and stuff. Which I feel like it's a good reminder, especially for a gym, that you don't give up and completely stop, but you don't also like push yourself too hard and then wear yourself out. So that's why I would put it in a gym. But honestly, it is a very pretty piece. It could obviously put pretty much anywhere else too, living room, bedroom, any other place, but the actual original piece itself, I think we do have actually in the storage room currently, so it's not actually in the actual like studio hanged or on anything. But very gorgeous, and obviously this is the 13 by 13 framed one, but I believe we do also have one currently available unframed. Obviously all of our prints here are collector, and that does mean that there's a limited amount or they are signed as well. We are working obviously on getting things a little bit faster and a little bit more manufactured a bit easier, because currently we do have them all manufactured here in studio. But that is something we are currently looking into, and I will let you know as soon as we get that all done with. But very gorgeous, very peaceful, and that should have been a good moment for you guys can look at it close. So I'm gonna bring it back to me. But very gorgeous, honestly. And obviously, this one's a little bit of a newer one. Not too old, not too new. Was it being painted about a year ago now? So it's not new, but it's not really old as well as some of these pieces here. So very gorgeous. About a year ago, painted in the public pop-up location here in Virginia. Tons of fun, honestly, there. But we obviously moved back to this private location. Very gorgeous though, and that is Peaceful Jungle. Of course, if you have any questions or anything else, you're more than free to ask anytime. I'm not sure if I'll see them though, because I don't have the computer actually with me down here tonight. Got moved, so it's going to be a little bit harder for me to see comments, but I do kind of see you all. Hi, I can see your profiles, at least, profile photos. But welcome in. So we're going to go through it. We kind of went through two. We went through Peaceful Jungle and what's this other one? Oh, this is Golden Sky. So we went through those. And we'll go through actually another older one. So this next piece is a little bit older. So we're going between like newer, older to older again. And this actually is Cascading Flowers. So whenever I bring this one up, mainly a lot of people look at it and it's one of those really basic designs that we have where it's just flowers. But let me tell you, actually there is a little bit more behind it actually. So this one is actually one of the oldest designs that took the longest to paint. This one actually probably took around 3 to 5 years, which for example and reference, the one that we just pulled out before this, Peaceful Jungle, only took a complete day. So a day to 3 to 5 years is a huge gap, obviously. But this one took about 3 to 5 years, and the reason why it took so long, honestly, is because this piece really represents the artist's growth and changes over time and her own style and to what she likes. Obviously, it didn't have too many major changes. The blue background that you do see actually in this is the original blue that was painted on back when it was first started. But when I bring it up closer, you're going to see that there's a lot of small details that she added throughout time. And I'll point them out obviously to kind of help you map it out a bit better, since I've looked at it a little bit longer than you all probably. But very gorgeous, took the longest, and it really represents time as it kind of changes and shifts a person and the personality and what they like and don't like, because you can really see like her own like style change. Even though it's still the same flowers, it's still the same like layout and stuff, it did have obviously a few detailed changes over time that really shifted it. But obviously this was finished in 2024. It probably was started around 2020, and honestly I don't know what flower it is actually, because I don't think she even remembers at this point. Because like I said, it was a lot of changes over time. But from what I know, it probably was referenced off of Nice, France, because at the time she was doing a lot of traveling. And now I have it a little bit closer, I can point out a few things. So one of the major detailed changes here is actually the little parts here. So if you can see this a bit, you can see that it's like very detailed here in the center. And that's just all of these. This was actually painted at a separate time from everything else. So everything else was much more simplistic, as you can kind of tell. It has a lot of colors with these blues and reds, which the glare is not helping, but you know. It has a lot of blues and reds in the leaves, but clearly that with these little tiny detailed pieces here is at a different time. And you can even see that there's some, like this leaf, that's completely red, which that was also painted at a different time. There's little tiny brush stroke changes, like this flower to this flower. This has more detailing, like, what is it? It's Rose's peacock feathers, but this is a little bit more soft and rounded out with no rough shadows. You can really see, if you look at it and then you put it against and near other paintings she's done over time, like the changes in little details from each different flower to just small detailing, like the little, I can't remember what the piece inside the flower is called, but just those two, you can really see the major differences in style, which she doesn't usually jump from highly detailed to soft, so it is two different time frames that she actually did those. Very gorgeous though, and honestly, I do love the representation on like time changing people, even if it's not extremely noticeable from afar that they've changed much. But once you really take it up close, you can see the little tiny details of how time's kind of like shaped a person and changed it and everything else. Very gorgeous though, and that is Cascading Flowers. So this obviously is the collector print, 13 by 13 size. The actual original piece itself is, I believe, in the private collection, because this is once again one of the more historic girl pieces for Amena K, the artist of everything that I'm showing tonight and on this page. But honestly, very gorgeous still, even in print form, and currently this is one of the ones that is printed here in-house. This is not printed anywhere else, it's still printed here in-house, and these ones are actually signed currently. So if you get one tonight or here soon, they do come signed by the artist. But very gorgeous still, and we will be moving on to the next one, which I think will probably be, I don't know, we've got a few different ones here. I'll go with this one next, if I don't drop everything else. Alright, so we got our next one here, and let me move Cascading Flowers out of the way. So this one's a bit older again, so we got a lot of the older pieces tonight I'm showing you, but still very gorgeous. And this is actually doves with cherries, or birds with cherries. But this one I'll have to actually push a little bit closer. Sorry about the squeak. But this one I have pushed a little bit closer because it is actually a little bit colored a bit differently. This is one of the few ones that's actually done in oil at the time. So we don't have many oil paintings for anyone that's curious. We've had people ask before. A lot of our work is actually acrylic at the moment. But Doves with Cherries actually is one of the few ones that is oil, or at least the original painting is. Doves with Cherries was probably painted around 2020 to 2021. At the time she was doing coloring books, and she actually has 4 at the moment, with a few more still in progress, but with an unknown release date, if ever. And this one was a part of the French collection. I cannot remember exactly the name of it. It's been so long since I've looked. But it's like something like French flowers or French, like whatever. This was a part of the French Designs collection, where it was very, like, what is the word? Referenced. It was very referenced off of France in their architectural and design, which at the time she actually was doing many trips to France. So she did have a lot of photos and images to reference off of. This actually, mainly, I'm pretty sure, was referenced off of mainly chandeliers and lights in France, but they had a lot of ladies, birds and animals kind of intertwined into it, which you can see if you ever visit. But this is actually during her time frame, which the way you can really tell she's older is at the time she mainly painted in this double-sided style. So this is actually a flip style where she has it the exact same on both sides. So very gorgeous, honestly. She doesn't do this much actually currently. I think she only has one work in progress that is this old style, which this is several years later now. But this is one of the few that she took from her coloring books that she made and actually painted it, which is very cute, honestly. This is actually pretty much the same size as the original piece too. I'm pretty sure the original piece is around a 13 by 13, so it's actually like the size, but very gorgeous. It does have these doves actually, that is the type of bird that you do see on both sides here. They are actually doves, and it does have these cherries above them where they're kind of like trying to eat the cherries very cutely. But it does have these doves on both sides kind of perched up, which that's a very French design honestly, where you have like the light here, they have like honestly, where you have like the light here, they have like people, ladies, animals on both sides, kind of by the base, and then you have the rest of the inner flowing design, which you can really see that in France if you look. Very gorgeous though, honestly, and it's got a little bit of intertwining in the actual line work, but it's not one of the most difficult pieces she makes. Even though there is currently her most difficult piece and painting to date, this is 2025 obviously, is actually one that has this double-sided design. So it's double-sided, it was about the same time, much bigger though, and it's of two eels. So if you ever get the chance to see this, which I don't know if anyone ever will, it might be in private collection forever, but if you ever see this video, person, whatever else, it's these two eels, and they have this intertwining that was super difficult for her to do, and these very straight lines that she did by hand. No painter's tape, nothing else, straight by hand. So it was currently her most complicated design to date. Still. Very gorgeous though, and obviously this was painted at the same time. But let me move this back. Loves the squeak on me. And yeah, that is obviously doves with cherries. Very gorgeous, and obviously this is the Fine Art Collector Edition print, which is a 13 by 13. I believe this is the first or second edition on this, but very gorgeous. And since these ones are still printed in-house, it is actually signed. So if you want a signed one, I do recommend you get this soon before we fade those out, because once again, the collector's edition, there's only so many of them. But very gorgeous, very beautiful, and obviously that's doves with cherries. And since we seem to be on a roll with these older designs, since we've gone around probably 3 older ones, I'll be showing the next one that's a bit older too. Not as old actually, but a bit older. And this is Fox. It is literally just called Fox, which is pretty fitting for the name. This is actually one of our cropped image prints. Oh, nice, tipping over the weight balance. Alright, so this is actually one of our cropped image prints where we had to crop it, but we did obviously make the centerpiece its head, so we made sure that it had lots of room for that. But the fox itself is literally just named the Fox as the original work, and this is pretty much on a lot of things currently. If you look around our shop or our page, you will see it pretty much on anything you can find. This one actually is a fan favorite from 2024. So this was the favorite of 2024. So it was chosen for a lot of things, honestly, in the collection. But Fox itself was painted about 2023, so the year before. This actually was painted during an event here in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which if you don't live down here or do news or anything, you probably don't know. In Fredericksburg, Virginia, we have this historic district, which if you ever come down, the historic district is basically a little bit of a town that's just a small town. It has a lot of history to it, a lot of Washington's, like our first ever president's like birth home and everything else. There is so many little historic presidents and everything else, wars in Fredericksburg, Virginia area. So if you're ever into history, this is where you usually come for American history. But we have our historic district, and once a year, around fall time, I believe, we have this event that's called Art Fight, I believe. I believe it's Art Fight or Fight Art. But basically, for one day out of the entire year, all artists from basically Fredericksburg, Virginia and the regions next to it come together to downtown, the historic Fredericksburg area, and take over the streets. So there's tons of tables, artists, singers, dancers, musicians. It's just really a day of color and music and everything bright and amazing. It's like a whole festival, honestly, just for the artists. And it's taken over by artists. There's painters, musicians, everything. And this was painted during that event. It was the 2023 version of like the art on the street. So obviously it did not get finished just all that day. It was prepped out a little bit the days before the event, which is for most pieces. It does require a little bit of prep work, like background and colors. But the actual painting itself did get finished during that day, or at least finished. The reason why I say finished is because it actually, just like a little tiny wow trivia, is it technically was not originally finished or supposed to be finished. The artist, Amena, did want to come back to it later and make the tail more fluffier. Now, for anyone that's curious, no, she never got to doing that, and the tail is still exactly how it looked back in 2023. And the reason why she didn't do it now, when she did the final signing on the back of it, is because she would be basically playing for hours trying to find the right colors to basically make it the perfect tones. Because if you don't know, she hand mixes all of her colors currently, which would make it extremely hard to find the correct colors to make it seamless at the moment. But that also means that this is currently, to date, the only big painting, the only painting I think actually, just in general, that is not signed on the front. So if you've been paying attention for the past probably 4 now, I think, yeah, for the past 4, and you've been paying attention and actually looking at these things, you would see that there is a signature on the front, actually. This is the only one that does not have it because it was not originally finished. She wanted to do that little editing detail, so she did not sign it on the front. And now, since it's been 2 years later and she hand mixes all her paints, it would be practically a pain to try to figure out the colors to hand sign it on the front. So what she did, instead of signing it on the front, is signed it on the back, which makes it also one of the only paintings that she signed on the pack that is really big. So currently, if you ever do see it in showing in person, you will obviously see it does not have her signature Amena on the front, but the only way you would ever see the actual signature is on the back, which that would require it obviously being flipped around. But that is something very unique and very rare about this piece, honestly, that not many people really notice, because not many people look for signatures, honestly. But very gorgeous, painted around 2023, during the event I mentioned, obviously, which I won't go back over it because it's a very long story, obviously, but very gorgeous. Fan favourite back in 2024, so it's on a lot of the older collection stuff that's now being faded out. I'll give you guys a good close-up look of it here, and then we shall move on to the next one. Alright, so that is the box, clearly, and honestly very beautiful still, just close to the heart and everything else, but very, very lovely. Let me put this off to the side. We'll probably go through our last one, so I think I'll end it off a little bit earlier, because honestly, not too live tonight, and I have not eaten dinner, so that's fun. So usually we end it around 9. I don't know if we're going to be staying till 9. So it's still a little bit dead right now, but we'll see if you guys just keep popping in, ask questions or whatever else. We'll see if we stay up a little bit later, or if I feel like going through the rest of these. But we'll at least do this one and then see. So here is this one, and this is actually called Rose's Peacock Feathers. And Rose's Peacock Feathers, the actual original piece, was painted with 4 others. So this was actually a collection of 4. So currently, to date, we only have 2 prints of this collection. We have Rose with Peacock Feathers, and then we have, what's the other one called? It is called Palm Leaves. So Rose with Peacock Feathers and Palm Leaves are currently the only 2 of the collection of 4 that actually had collector edition prints. The other 2 was called, I believe, Lily, like something, like Water Lily, and then it was like Glass Flowers or something was the other 2. So we got like Lily pads and then like Glass Flowers. I don't remember the names too much of them. Of those 2, but this is one of the 2 that we did get prints of, which Rose with Peacock Feathers does have the rose actually here as the centerpiece, which you can see, and then the Peacock Feathers is actually on the sides here that's kind of more faded out, but you can obviously see too if you are actually looking at it nicely. But it is kind of more of like a feeling. This is more of the elegant, quite elegant feeling, because one, roses, they are actually very prominent in a lot of the works here. You will see it in a lot of the more meaningful works to the artist, that she does paint roses all the time if it means a lot more to her. Historically, if it's like a piece more like for the stories more on her history or things she likes, you will see roses in it besides her favorite. But roses also historically has been a flower of love and elegance, as well as peacock feathers, which peacocks have these gorgeous feathers that really kind of like come out, and also they're really seen as like the very prideful, kind of like very elegant animals of like the animal kingdom because of their beautiful feathers. So these 2 things kind of together in this piece really gives more of a elegant feeling, like a very quiet but powerful elegance because of those 2 meanings combined. Doesn't really have much of a story, but it does obviously have that feeling, which some of her works is more of a feeling instead of a story. Honestly though, still very beautiful. This was probably painted around, I would like to say 2022, 2023. So it's not too old, but one of the older pieces currently to date. And obviously, it is part of a collection of four, where majority of them were centered around flowers or nature as a whole. Very gorgeous though, and honestly, I would put it definitely in probably, I guess it would depend on the house. I would put it in obviously more of a very lovely, kind of like old money luxury house because it does give that feeling, honestly. But this could go definitely in a dining room or a living room. I could see it in where it's more of like a living space where people obviously will see it, guests will see it, where it's more refined. But very good, very lovely, and everything else. And I'll bring it up close for you all here to see it because it is indeed beautiful up close on the colors here. Very beautiful. It does actually have that signature there, which, like I said with the fox, is currently, well, for anyone that doesn't know, the fox does not have a signature on the front. So I was mentioning earlier that if you looked, you would see that everything else does. And this is one of the ones that you can see a little bit more clearly. Very gorgeous peacock feathers off to the side though, with that gorgeous kind of like purple for like the lighter colors, and obviously yellows. And then you've got the gorgeous rose as well, kind of like coming off to the side here and stealing the show and spotlight. Very beautiful. You can really see the paintbrush strokes up close here in this print. But I do adore this one, honestly. It's one of the more underrated pieces, with the actual one of the other ones being does with cherries, which mainly I think that's because they're much more of like a quiet elegant. They don't really have many animals as like a huge centerpiece, but more of the flower and kind of like wispy design. But very gorgeous still. I do love it, and obviously very pretty. I do not know, I might have the other one of the collection here, so I can show that to you. Oh yeah, I do. I have it here, so I can show you the other one I was speaking of in this collection of four. And then you can see obviously how these contrast. So let me put this off to the side and show you this one. So this one's palm leaves, which does not have a flower center as the actual like main centerpiece. It's obviously palm leaves. But this one actually currently today is the only painting that has just like one thing as it. Doesn't have any like supporting flowers or floral or anything else, animals. It is just palm leaves. Now, even though it is just palm leaves, it does have a large diversity of colors and tones, which honestly I do find quite beautiful once you see it up close. But this one particularly, since it's such a simple design, it was actually a personal first when we started to get other products that were not just prints. This includes most of our collection of lists that you can see here on TikTok, but it was a part of one of the first things that we got on a lot of stuff. Also though, it's very gorgeous, and it's kind of more of that quiet feeling. Honestly, this gives more of a quiet, tropical feeling, to me at least. I can really see this in like a very nice, like, inside garden. I can't remember what those are called exactly, but it's not called inside garden. But it's like those little like nice glass houses that you have all your pretty plants in. I can see this in like one of those, maybe a kitchen or something, like somewhere that you're kind of a little bit more like creative, honestly, a little bit more hands-on. It's kind of like a calm, new, kind of like fresh feeling, honestly. That's kind of the feeling it's giving me. It's kind of giving me a fresh feeling. But Honestly, that's where I could see it. Obviously, it does not have much of a story, it's more of a feeling, which that's mainly what that collection of 4 pieces was. It was less of like a story, more of a feeling they were all going for, which for the one that we just sewed before this, the roses peacock feathers, that was more of a feeling of like a quiet luxury, maybe a little bit a loud luxury. And this one really gives more of a feeling of fresh, honestly, fresh and new, which I do like. But honestly, I'll bring it up close so you can see it. Very pretty up close, and then we'll just ask her some questions and make sure that you guys have all your questions answered, since we're going to be ending the live here. You can see once again signatures on to the side, gorgeous array of colors, honestly, with each leaf being a different tone. And even though it's just one type of plant, it honestly does it so well. Look at that. Very gorgeous. So let me put this down and let me scroll through your comments, because honestly, I need to make sure that I didn't miss anything, because I do not have the computer here with me tonight. Usually I have a computer to see if we've got anyone ask questions, but since I don't have it tonight, it's been quite hard. But hello everyone, welcome on in. I can see you all now. But delightful having you here. Let me scroll up just to double check. We're good. Alright, it seems like we're all good, all caught up, and lovely. Alright, so I think that's the end of the stream for tonight, since it's been, also it's not been a full hour, but a little bit under. We usually go for a full hour, but I am feeling honestly famished and hungry, so I think those are the same words, but you know, I'm feeling hungry, so I gotta go eat and stuff. So I'm gonna have dinner here. It's going to be rice with fish, like a white fish, very gorgeous. But go have dinner. Hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow night. So obviously follow the page or just hurry the live, and I'm sure it will show up on your For You page tomorrow night or another night when we're live. But we are usually live around 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. if we are going live that day. If not, you'll probably get a notification and won't see us. But I am Delphine. This is Amena Art. Thank you for watching and listening to me talk about paintings tonight. And I hope you have a lovely night and a lovely tomorrow morning, because I don't think I'm live tomorrow morning. So I will be off, and have a lovely, lovely night. Good night.